Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today I wanted to talk a bit about prizing in the FGC. Now, this was a really hot topic about a month ago after EVO 2022 had concluded because people caught wind of the prizes that were paying out for the largest and most prestigious fighting game event in the world. And it was kind of all summarized here with this tweet put out by Reinhardt, which put all the prize winnings for the first place winners for each game into this tweet. And then this kind of went around and caused a whole lot of discussion about, why are the prize pools the way they are in the fighting game world? So here we can see that Street Fighter V, the champion Kawano, got $5,500 for first place. Tekken 70, 7.2K. And you can see the prize pools range from a couple of thousands of dollars. Guilty Gear Strive with the most entrants came the closest to cracking, double-digit $1,000 numbers, but fell short with $9,000 for first place. And yeah, this caused a lot of buzz. People were like, wow, the largest and most prestigious fighting game event in the world. But if you win, you might get enough money to pay for your trip to Vegas. So people were really discussing, like, how is this the case? What could this be indicative of? How could we change this? And I wanted to talk a bit about prizing in general and how that works and how, it's not always the case that these are the prize pools we see at EVO. In fact, if we go back and look at EVO 2019 for Street Fighter V, for example, we can see here that first place got $31,000, and we can actually see that the total prize pool was $69,510, which is a lot different than the prize pool for EVO 2022. If we look at EVO 2022, the total prize pool was only $13,240. That's a big difference. Now you might be saying, okay, maybe EVO 2022 was significantly smaller than EVO 2019, and that accounts for why the pricing was so different between the two. Well, actually, EVO 2019 did have more entrants. It had 1,951 entrants into the tournament. Pretty good tournament, almost 2,000 people entered. EVO 2022, however, had 1,324 people who entered, so about 600 people less than EVO 2019. 600 people less, but the total prize pool went from practically $70,000 to $13,000. That does not account for that kind of a drop off. So I wanted to talk a bit about how prizing generally works in the FGC. EVO 2022 was 100% funded by the prize pot money. When you enter a tournament, you pay $10 to enter the tournament. To attend EVO, you pay a flat rate, which is usually around like $75 to $100+. It depends on how early in the registration you get that done. But once you pay that flat rate to enter each individual tournament after, you pay $10 to get into that tournament. Those $10 are your tournament fee. That goes into the pot money for the actual event. So if you notice something, the prize pool for EVO 2022 was $13,240. There was 1,324 people who entered. So the math all adds up. It was $10 to enter, 1,300 people entered. That was all the money. There was no outside money whatsoever for EVO 22 prize pools across any of the games, right? All of the games are a direct reflection of the number of entrants, except for Tekken, which I believe had $5,000 extra put on top of it. I did the math there. Tekken actually had less entrants than Street Fighter V, but had more prize pool because I believe Namco potentially added 5,000 to the prize pool. Which brings me to my next point. Most of these prize pools for EVO were previously boosted by developer input. If you do the math for EVO 2019, it had 1,951 entrants. The original prize pool for this under normal circumstances would have been $19,000 total divided up between the players, right? However, Capcom, the developer, this is their game, dropped $50,000 into the prize pool for EVO 2019. And they also added a bunch of prize money in previous years as well. When the CPT, the Capcom Pro Tour, is more in full swing, and EVO was one of the spots for the Capcom Pro Tour, and it was earlier in the Street Fighter V life cycle, Capcom added a lot of money to the prize pool. So $31,000 for first place, not too bad, right? That's significant money. That's something to be like, hey, look, this is an esport. We're competing for money that matters. And it's not like embarrassing to stand on the world champion stage in Mandalay Stadium in Las Vegas and say, hey, I won first place for EVO and I got $5,000, right? $31,000 is a significant amount of money. And that's because it was put in by the developers. However, when we come to the end of life cycles for games, developers aren't obligated to add this money to the prize pool, right? They have no reason to necessarily do that, especially when the game is at the end of its life cycle. Street Fighter 6 is already announced. It's coming out soon. What incentive does Capcom have to keep promoting people to play Street Fighter 5 at this time, right? So that goes across all the games. All the games that ever have a significant amount of money, it's always from developer input. None of the money ever comes from EVO themselves, at least up till this point. EVO has often relied on building up a large prestigious event that gets developers incentivized to support the prize pools for the events. But EVO 2022 was 100% funded out of the pockets of the people who entered the tournament, so the prize pools are reflective, a one-to-one correlation with how large the tournament was, how many people actually entered to play. And that's kind of the basic model for any tournament, right? Not just EVO. Any tournament you go to, you pay a flat rate to enter the venue. Then the actual games you enter, you pay a tournament fee, which is generally $10 to enter. And that's been the way it's been since I've been entering tournaments in 2010, 2011, right? That's just how it works. But that is not the only way it has to work, right? That is not the only way it has to go down. So I wanted to take a look at a different event. This one is Bum's B-Day Bash. This tournament was pretty interesting in that it's put on by not a large corporation, not a large team. It's put on by Bum, a big member of the FGC, one of the core tenants of the DBFZ community these days. And he's done a lot across many different games, including Marvel and even Melee, and plenty of games. He's been a core member of the FGC, hosting events, always hosting tournaments, and doing a lot for his scene in New York and just for fans of the games that he supports heavily. And Bum's Birthday Bash is a tournament that he put on entirely on his own with no corporate sponsors whatsoever, but the prize pools are higher than the EVO payouts, aside from Guilty Gear, which has had that many people. This is more money in this prize pool than there was for Street Fighter 5, for Tekken, for any of the games. This tournament, in comparison, EVO Street Fighter 5, first place got 5.5K. That tournament had 1,324 people that entered. Bum's Birthday Bash had a total attendee amount of 194 people. Now you might be asking, how does an event with 194 people end up having a prize pool that is more than EVO, more than the biggest event in the world, without any sponsorships, any corporate involvement whatsoever? Well, they did crowdfunding. So here's the Matcherino page for Bum's Birthday Bash. You can see here, total prize pool, $15,476. This is a crowdfunding platform. Matcherino has been used by many different events in order to fund money from people who want to just donate out of either the kindness of their own hearts or by using other metrics within the platform itself to raise money. For example, they often give out coupon codes which add a few extra cents to the prize pool, 50 cents, 25 cents, if you just log into the website itself and click the button. There's also sponsor quests that they offer, which are like things like visiting certain social media platforms, clicking on the links, and it'll raise money that way. And also, of course, direct contribution. So Bum's Birthday Bash is an event that had 194 people who entered. It raised over $8,000 in crowdfunding alone from the community. Bum also added a lot of his own money to the event as well to bump it up to 15K. But raising 8K strictly using crowdfunding is already a huge accomplishment. And the players went to this event. I mean, Wawa won EVO as well. He won more money from winning a 194-man tournament put on by a grassroots effort than winning EVO. EVO for DBFZ, Wawa won $4,700. Winning Bum's Birthday Bash, Wawa won $7,738 instead. So people were looking at this and starting to scratch their head a little bit, because EVO is kind of a big deal. Peak viewership for EVO, 250,000 people were watching EVO at its peak with Idom versus Kawano in the grand finals, right? And let's just compare that. I mean, once again, all respect to Bum, but let's just compare Bum's Birthday Bash to EVO.
Oh, I knew best in the world? Is that how it's going?
Yo, looking like it.
Oh, shit.
Okay, sparked it up.
Oh, my God. Sonic Fox is fighting. Oh, he gets that hit. And Wawa.
Wawa. Take it.
Oh. They got the camera. Got the camera. They hit the camera. It's over, guys. It's over, guys.
Oh my
They
goodness.
smacked the camera. It's over.
It's over. The camera.
It's done.
Bum's Birthday Bash is obviously a grassroots event put on by Bum there himself, the GOAT, putting on something for the community that he cares so much for and getting the job done and getting the players paid. But it's grassroots, bro. Like, this is real just passion from the community, and they managed to pay out the players so much. However, let's compare that to EVO.
Quano, he gets the hit. Activation. Is this going to be enough to kill? Is this going to kill? It is. And Quano takes it over Idol in the most clutch victory you could possibly imagine. Just shy of the victory, Quano is the Evolution 2022 champion. You can see.
So, you know, EVO 2022 takes place in a giant stadium in Las Vegas with over 1,000+ players entering from all over the world in a giant venue, a huge crowd, tons of production value. You got the smoke, you got the giant logo in the background, it has their picture and everything. The players aren't out here knocking over the camera and causing the freeze frame from the pop-off, right? However, you can see where this gets a little bit weird, right? Look at the scale of the show. Look at how many people are there, how many people are in attendance, the lights, the camera, the action. However, once again, you made more money going to Bum's Birthday Bash than winning EVO. There's a big just like question mark here and in the minds of a lot of people in the community. And people are starting to say things like, well, why can't we have things like, crowdfunding for EVO? Now, these are some questions that people had. Obviously, people are also saying, why aren't there other sponsors? Why aren't there more prize pools? There's a whole big conversation to be had about the EVO prize pool situation, because frankly, I think the community finds it a little bit embarrassing to put up these numbers for such a large-scale show and such little return for the players. I think it's just more indicative of the ego of the community. Like, wow, we cannot even afford to pay our players more money than this for this much production value for getting 250,000 people to watch this show. But on the other hand, we can do $7,000 for an event that someone does out of their own pocket with no corporate sponsorships. And we can raise that with the passion from the community itself. So people, that is a question people are juggling a lot. Now, there is the question of why wouldn't they use crowdfunding for EVO? That's not always a simple thing to answer. EVO is a very large event with many strings attached to it, many corporate sponsors, and there's a lot of hands in the cookie jar of EVO, and you can't just necessarily add some kind of component without satisfying all the players at hand. So it's not as simple as simply add match arena, right? There would have to be a lot of paperwork and a lot of negotiations and a lot of lawyers probably to look at this stuff over. So I'm not going to say, oh, just snap your fingers and add match arena to EVO. And when you look at Bum's Birthday Bash, I asked Bum, was there any other sponsors or anything? He's like, no, this was completely out of pocket. There was no sponsorship, so there was no other like obligations that Bum had to manage for doing this. He can just run his own event and add Matcherino, and look, it worked. It got money for the players. And it's not only for just like big events like this, like even smaller events. Like I just did a tournament recently on the past weekend, and I was able to win decent amount of money for just playing in a online local event. So I did Full Bar Fridays this past Friday, and for some reason this event happened to raise $760 for this event. So people were watching the event and decided to contribute to the prize pool, and I was able to win some good money from just playing in a 20-something man tournament. This tournament only had 20-something people entered, right? With normal prizing structures of paying $10, that would only be a $220 prize pool. Instead, it was a free to enter tournament sponsored entirely by the Matcherino, and it raised $760. Now, obviously, there's other considerations with this, like Matcherino doesn't always guarantee you money. You aren't guaranteed to get money in the Matcherino. It relies on generosity from the people watching it, right? So there is that question at hand. And also, like I mentioned, the sponsorship question. How can we get big events like EVO to leverage this, or is this even possible? And well, actually, an established event with corporate sponsorships that has been in the scene for a long time did exactly that. ECT happened recently, East Coast Throwdown. It's been one of the largest events in North America for quite some time and has established partnerships, established sponsors, and it actually did a Matcherino for the entire event, not per game, not for one tournament within the event. There's many games ran at Matcherino, and they did a Matcherino, split it between 5 games: Street Fighter V, Guilty Gear Strive, Tekken 7, DNF Duel, and Guilty Gear Xrd, and raised over $8,000 for the entire event, divided between those 5 games. So they actually made this tournament much more valuable for the people who are going to go, right? So I did the numbers on this one. For Street Fighter V, for East Coast Throwdown 2022, 134 people entered this event, right? So that prize pool would only have been $1,340. But IDOM took away first place $1,471 instead. So he could actually afford to pay for the trip. In a lot of situations, winning these tournaments, you lose money. Like, you can't afford to pay for your trips, especially it's like smaller events. If you place, good luck even making your money back that you paid to enter the event. So it's often rare for people to even get their money's worth for winning events. It's not a sustainable practice, right? But ECT proved that, hey, I'm an established event. I have partnerships, I have obligations, but I'm still able to leverage crowdfunding in order to get more prize funds for the people who are entering the tournaments. So it's pretty interesting to see how this dynamic is changing, because people are still pretty burned out on EVO and the prize pool situation, and there's still a lot of questions at hand, like, could there potentially be corporate sponsors that add more prize funding? Are we always going to rely on developers who don't always have an incentive to donate to the prize pools? Or are we going to go more crowdfunding, right? Like, are we going to go the ECT route and leverage crowdfunding? Because people want to support the scene. They want to encourage players to keep coming out and playing. In my personal opinion, it's not sustainable for people to travel to a lot of events, because you simply just lose money. Going to events, even when you win, you often just lose money. It's just how it is, right? So we can even look at the brackets for any of these events, right? So if we look at the Wikipedia page for Street Fighter V at ECT, you would have had no money for fifth and 7th place. This would have been no money without the Matcherino, because it added an extra, like, what, $1,600? Yeah, $1,610 for Matcherino minimum. Shine got a respectable $829. Like, you just wouldn't have had these numbers for this event without the Matcherino. But if we compare it again to, say, like EVO, right? Shine got second at a tournament with 194 people. He made $830. He got more than getting 5th at EVO. Just think about the scale of this. In my all respect to Shine and East Coast Throwdown, getting 5th at EVO is more prestigious and way harder to do than getting 2nd at East Coast Throwdown. Just saying. That's facts. Like, you can take it how you want to, but you have to beat so many tournament and championship winning players to get to 5th place at EVO. But you go to ECT with a crowdfunding Matcherino added, and you make more money for 2nd. It just shows the disparity here. Like, you get 5th place at EVO and you don't pay for the trip. You get 4th place, you don't pay for the trip. So the economics aren't adding up. Like, this is just not sustainable for people. And I think that question has been presenting itself a lot more. Like, why would players travel to these events? You just constantly lose money, even when you win. But ECT is trying to answer back and show that, hey, established majors can potentially use Matcherino and crowdfunding to increase the prize pools. And, you know, who knows where this will go from here? Will EVO leverage Matcherino to do this in the future? I don't know. Probably not. Will they look for other sponsorships in order to increase the prize pools? I'm kind of hoping so. I'm hoping the prize pools increase for EVO. I don't think it's sustainable the way it currently is, and I think it's a bad sign for the health of the competitive community. But that said, guys, I just wanted to talk about these recent developments with crowdfunding and prizing in the FGC. It's pretty interesting stuff. I'm not sure what direction this is going to go in the future. Will we see more tournaments using crowdfunding? I kind of hope so. I think it's an easy way to at least increase prize pools and incentivize players to go out to more events and take the time and the monetary risk in order to travel to events, because you could be just losing money and wasting time potentially, even if you get like 3rd place or something. Sometimes even 1st, you don't pay for your flight back. So that said, guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, you can like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the growth of the channel and makes me feel good about doing YouTube videos. Thanks, guys. See you next time.